Hey, Max here. Welcome to the show, Movie Madness Entertainment, talking about all the latest news in movies, video games, music, and anything that entertains you. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And then I really want to see your comments on this. I know a lot of fans out there love Sony, love Xbox, Microsoft, love Nintendo. But we do know, especially when the game consoles. Now, Microsoft's been the best at this backwards compatibility and free upgrades, but we know that's only because they have to. I'm not so much of an Xbox fanboy that I don't realize they had to do this stuff. They had to upgrade and do backwards compatible, and that there was not always the priority. It just became the priority when their sales slumped after the Xbox One disaster. And I still love my Xbox. So this is what people are not talking about. I wish I was wrong. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And it's about Switch 2, Switch 1 edition games. The very fine print that was made on the final Switch 1 Direct, which may cause you some concern, or maybe you don't care. Maybe you just want to, you're fine with paying extra. So what we do know is the Switch 2 is backwards compatible. What they're not really elaborating on yet until maybe the Switch 2 Direct this Wednesday, April 2nd, is Switch 2 Edition Switch 1 games. I know that's very, just this name of that is, just saying that's extremely confusing. So the reason that this exists, potentially, it's like, maybe there's a cart that plays on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 that's Switch 2 that has the Switch 2 game on it. Maybe. I don't think so. I think the most likely scenario is the reason you have to have this disclaimer, Switch 2, Switch 1 edition games, is that it's not just you put a Switch 1 game in and it's organically or naturally upgraded to 4K or better textures. At least not, that's not what Nintendo is probably going to give you. The having this disclaimer in the Nintendo Switch Direct for Switch 1 makes me believe that you're not going to have organically, naturally the best version of the game just by putting the Switch 1 card in your Switch 2 system. Because they have this on there, it makes me think that you're going to have to pay a fee. Now, my guess would be, no, I know for sure you're going to be able to play a lot of Switch 1 games off the card and put them in your Switch 2 system, but they're going to play in the resolution that's on Switch 1. So it's just going to be playing Switch 1 games on the Switch 2, looking exactly the same way. The Switch 2 edition Switch 1 games, which I'm already getting tired of saying, I believe this means you're going to have to pay an upgrade fee. And then potentially for those collectors out there, you're going to see in retail at your GameStops Switch 2 edition Switch 1 games with it all on the card for a premium. But we will get more info on this Wednesday. Let me bring this up. Let's go through this Polygon article. There will be enhanced Switch 2 versions of some Switch games. Small print for the virtual game card mentions Switch 2 edition games. There were some filings for patents from Nintendo that seemed to allude that there was some technology being developed by Nintendo that would enhance games to a 4K level, but it does not seem like you're getting this for free. Unfortunately, if it changes as of the Direct, I will give an update video, but I doubt it. And this may be a selling point for some this may be a selling point for some people that they may want to hold off until there are some really great Switch 2 exclusive games, knowing that you may have to update. The best case scenario I could think of, if there is a fee, is maybe with Nintendo Online, which they are also raising their price soon, is that maybe by being a Nintendo Online subscriber, you're going to get some Switch 2 enhanced games if you own the physical game, because you're also Nintendo Online and you don't have to pay the fee except for the Switch Online service. But that's just wishful thinking. The very fact that you have Switch 2 edition games as a disclaimer means there's some kind of funny business going on with what's going to happen with your backwards compatible games. And to me, that's not, I wanted all my games to look better. I have a nice Switch 1 library. I'm a collector. I haven't been collecting as much as the last couple years, but let's read a little bit of this article. In the small print of an explainer about its new virtual game card system for digital purchases, Nintendo appeared to confirm that some Switch games will get enhanced versions for Switch 2, or at any rate, versions native to the Switch 2 console, and you cannot transfer them to Switch 1. A footnote, so what I'm thinking is, you'll put the card, this is what I think is going to happen. You're going to put your Switch 1 card in. You could play it in the exact same resolution as the Switch 1 system, or it'll give you an option for a fee. Pay $10, pay $15, pay $20, hopefully $10. And you could get an upgraded Switch 2 edition of that same game, pay $10 and get upgraded textures, 4K resolution, and then you can also have it digitally on your Switch 2 system without putting the card in. Some may even say, well, that sounds almost like when DVDs had that program, disc to digital, card to digital on Switch 2. Maybe that might be worth it for some people. But you can't transfer the digital to your Switch 1 system. So even though you have now a digital version of the game, a physical card that's on Switch 1, you will not be able to play that on Switch 1. At any rate, versions native to the Switch 2 console. A footnote in the article reads, Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games, Nintendo Switch 2 edition games can only be loaded on as a Nintendo Switch 2 system. This note also implies that the Switch 2 will use the virtual game card system as well and will be able to exchange Switch games with an original Switch. The Switch 2 is confirmed to be fully backwards compatible with its predecessor software, so it will be able to play almost any Switch game regardless. But Nintendo's mention of the Switch 2 edition games as opposed to Switch 2 exclusive games suggests that some Switch games will get cross-gen versions that run natively on Switch 2 rather than through a backward compatibility layer. This opens the door to enhanced versions of back catalog games such as The Legend of Zelda Breath of Fire, as well as upcoming Switch game releases like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And it's an expected move that has been made commonplace by the latest generations of PlayStation, Xbox consoles. But it's still the first indication from Nintendo that it will go down this route for cross-gen releases. It remains to be seen whether Nintendo will charge an extra for Switch 2 edition games. Sony did for some PlayStation 5 upgrades of PlayStation 4 titles, while Microsoft elected to offer what it called Xbox Series X enhanced versions of Xbox One games for free. Yes, I do not think you're getting this with Nintendo. I was hoping you would, but it seems very unlikely at this point. How the Switch 2 handles backwards compatibility and any potential performance enhancement for older games is one of the bigger questions about the system ahead of its full reveal on April 2nd. The fine print answers one of our questions about it, but more remain. So what's your thoughts on this update about the Switch 2 enhanced Switch 1 games and what that's going to cost you? And is that a deal breaker or don't you care? Is it good enough to pay a small fee, hopefully small enough, but I don't think you're getting this for free. That's all I got in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you're thinking, and I would love to be wrong, but I don't think I am. See you later. Have a good one.